The tablet hits the studio floor and the screen cracks like ice racing across glass. Claire Benson feels the vibration through her bare feet, and for a second, she cannot tell if it is the tablet or her own body shaking.
You are telling me my hands will just stop listening to me one day? And there is nothing you can do about it?
Claire, the tests are clear, and the damage is already there in your nerves, and I cannot lie to you about what is coming.
The video call window freezes on the doctor's tired face, while a subtle tremor runs down Claire's right arm, like a secret being exposed.
I draw for a living and for breathing, and you are saying my hands are on a countdown, like a bomb.
We can slow some symptoms, but this illness is always progressive, and your hands will be the first to lose strength and control.
Her fingers curl into claws around an invisible pencil, and the familiar ache in her forearm spikes into a burning line.
So what do I do now? Do I just sit here and watch myself freeze piece by piece?
You live while you can, and you plan ahead, and you let people help you. And I know that sounds cruel and thin, but it is still true.
The call ends with a soft electronic chime, and the small studio falls into a silence that hums inside Claire's ears. Paintings lean against every wall and sunlight slants across half-finished canvases, full of bright city skies and tiny glowing windows.
You cannot take this from me. You cannot take the only thing I am good at.
She grabs the nearest paintbrush and snaps it against the edge of the table, then another and another, until the trash bin is full of broken handles. One of her latest illustration prints lies on the desk, a bright commission piece that went viral last week, and now it tears under her shaking hands.
If my hands are going to betray me, then I do not want to see any of this stupid hopeful color anymore.
Paper shreds flutter to the floor like snow, and cling to her bare ankles while her chest rises and falls in short, hard bursts.
Claire, open the door. I can hear things breaking, and that is usually a sign you need me.
Ethan Brooks' voice floats through the apartment door, warm and familiar with the steady patience of a person who has seen every one of her storms.
Go away, Ethan. I am not in the mood to pretend today.
Great, because I did not bring any small talk. I brought takeout and the contract from Marlowe Gallery and a very stubborn heart.
She stares at the door handle, and for a full minute the tremor in her right hand battles the urge to lock herself away from the world.
The contract does not matter. They just told me I am running on borrowed time, so your gallery dreams can find another artist.
The words taste like metal as she finally cracks the door open and lets Ethan step into the wreck of her studio.
Tell me what happened, and do not say nothing because the floor looks like a snow globe exploded.
His gaze takes in the shredded prints, the broken brushes, and the spiderweb crack across the tablet that still glows with the frozen test results screen.
The doctor says I have that illness, the one that locks people inside their bodies. And it already started. With my hand.
Claire?
I was sketching last week, and my fingers would not finish a simple line, and I thought it was stress. But now, there is a name, a sentence on my life.
Her voice cracks and the last word dissolves into a sob that seems to come from somewhere under her ribs.
I am here, and I am not going anywhere, and we will figure out what your life looks like now together.
He pulls her into his arms, careful of her shaking right hand, and for a brief moment she lets herself fold into the familiar smell of coffee and rain on his shirt.
I cannot even hold a pencil properly, Ethan. How am I supposed to finish the portfolio we planned? Or hang my work in any gallery?
Maybe the plan changes, but that does not mean there is no plan, and you are more than your hands, even if you do not believe that yet.
Outside the studio window, evening rolls in with slow gray clouds and a chilly wind that rattles the loose frame of the glass. Claire pulls away, wipes her face, and stares at the small cardboard box on the shelf, the one that holds the last pieces of her grandmother.
I was supposed to sort through Nana's things today, and now I do not even know if I have a future for anything she left me.
Then let me help, and we can cry and eat bad takeout and go through her box at the same time.
They sit on the floor among the paper snow, and Ethan pulls the dusty box between them, while Claire peels back the worn lid with unsteady fingers. Inside there is an old sketchbook tied with twine, a set of brushes stained with dried paint, and a folded note with Claire's name, written in a familiar looping hand.
She could not see for the last years of her life, and she still kept drawing. And I remember her fingers, always touching the canvas, like she was reading it.
She opens the sketchbook and finds page after page of raised lines, dried thick with paint, little notes in the margins about texture and memory, and the way fabric feels under the hand. On the first page a sentence stands alone, written in a darker pen, as if pressed into the paper by sheer will. When eyes cannot see, there is still the fingertip, and when the fingertip cannot move, there is still the heart that remembers every color.
Nana really did this. She painted without sight, and she left me a guide, and I never even opened it until the day they told me I would lose my hands.
Maybe she knew you would need it one day, and maybe the timing is awful and perfect at the same time.
At the back of the sketchbook, Claire finds an unfinished painting wrapped in brown paper, a small canvas, where streaks of green and gold rise out of a dark field like tiny trapped stars. Someone has written a title on the wooden frame, with a careful hand. Fireflies. Rain taps against the studio window the next morning, while Claire sits at her desk with her grandmother's sketchbook open in front of her. Her right hand trembles over a blank canvas, and a single unused brush lies across her knees like a question she is scared to answer.
You said fingertips and memory, Nana, and I do not know if that is enough. But I do not know what else I have.
The sketchbook describes how to map a canvas in the dark, how to feel the grain under each finger, and how to mark invisible borders with raised paint. Claire closes her eyes, dips the brush into thick gesso, and drags a slow, careful line from top to bottom of the canvas, counting her breaths.
1 line for the horizon, and 1 for the roof of that diner across the street, and 1 for the traffic light that never seems to turn green.
When the line dries, it hardens into a faint ridge, and she traces it with her fingertips, feeling the path her brush carved into the surface. She builds more raised edges, little islands of texture, where windows will glow, and where clouds will sit heavy, and where the city sidewalk will crack.
This is stupid and slow, and my hand will probably give up before I finish 1 block of this street, but I guess we are both allowed to be stubborn.
The brush slips from her grasp twice and clatters to the floor, and each time she forces herself to pick it up again with fingers that feel less like hers. By afternoon, her wrist aches and the tremor has moved into her shoulder. Yet there are new shapes drawing on the canvas, like a secret map only she can read by touch.
I brought soup and bread and 8 unanswered text messages, and I am coming in unless you yell at me first.
Door is open, and the floor is clean today, so you will not trip over my meltdown this time.
Ethan steps inside and stops just past the threshold, his gaze caught by the strange pale canvas propped against the easel.
What are these little ridges? It looks like a city drawn in Braille.
That is kind of the point. Nana painted by touch when she lost her sight, and I am trying to learn her way before my hands stop playing along.
You were telling me that while your body is betraying you, you decided to pick the hardest possible mode for painting, and I mean that as a compliment.
He sets the soup on the table and watches as Claire wraps a strip of soft cloth around her right hand, then anchors the brush handle under the bandage.
My fingers keep dropping it, so I figured I would cheat and tie the brush to the only part of me that still listens most of the time.
That is not cheating, that is engineering, and if anyone ever doubts your work, I will personally make them walk barefoot through Lego bricks.
Claire laughs despite herself, and the sound comes out rough but real, and for a moment the heaviness in the room loosens its grip. She closes her eyes again, dips the brush into blue paint, and moves along the dried ridges, counting softly under her breath, as color fills the spaces she mapped by touch.
If I know where the lines are, I do not have to see them, and my body can betray me as much as it wants, and I will still find the path.
Hours pass and the city outside turns from gray to deep navy, while the canvas slowly gathers blues and golds, and soft white smears that hint at windows and streetlights.
Claire, I talked to the gallery today about you.
Did you tell them their future star is falling apart, like cheap paint, under rain?
I told them your work is changing into something no one else can do, and that if they want safe, predictable art, they can hang prints from the internet. I also told them I want to build a show around this journey of yours, around this method, around the way you are refusing to disappear quietly.
A show about a girl who cannot hold her brush. Straight sounds like a pity party, with extra lighting, Ethan.
Not if the story is that you are teaching the rest of us what it means to create when every part of life tells you to stop.
He gestures around the room at the half-finished tactile maps, the scattered paint tubes, and the open sketchbook full of raised lines and careful notes about touch and memory.
Call it the Life series, or the Firefly series, or whatever name you want, but let people see this and feel this.
Life series sounds arrogant, and Fireflies makes it sound pretty when it mostly hurts.
Her fingers drift over her grandmother's unfinished painting, the one with green and gold sparks rising out of darkness, like stubborn lights that refuse to go out.
Maybe I start with small pieces, small moments like how my coffee cup feels in the morning, or the sound of kids on the street below, and see if they can glow on canvas.
Then, we will name the show after whatever these small moments become, and I will make sure the world shows up for it.
Later that night, after Ethan leaves the studio, Claire sits alone in the dim light, tracing her newest painting with both hands, trying to memorize every ridge and curve. Her right fingers are numb at the tips, so she uses the side of her hand, the heel of her palm, even her forearm to feel the texture of her work.
If my body is going to turn to stone, I will at least decide what gets carved into it first.
She writes the date on the back of the canvas and adds a simple title, Small Lights, and it becomes the first piece in a series she has not fully named yet. Spring slides into the city almost without warning, and Claire's studio fills with canvases that smell of drying paint and rain-soaked air. Her illness moves faster than the season, and by the time trees outside show small green buds, her left hand has begun to stiffen around spoons and zippers and pens.
You were supposed to take turns, failing not gang up on me, all at once.
She jokes at her own hands, but the strain in her voice lingers after the joke dies in the quiet room. On good days, Ethan helps her carry a lightweight easel into the streets, where she props her canvas on a park bench or against a lamppost and paints by touch while life moves around her. Children race past with chalk dust on their knees, dogs tug on leashes, and old couples share quiet coffee on city stoops. And Claire tries to trap each small scene in texture and color.
Hold still for 1 second. Please, I promise. I am not weird. I just want the shape of your shoulders next to that tree.
Are you painting superheroes or monsters? Because my mom says those are the only two things that sell these days.
Today, I am painting people who keep going even when everything feels heavy, and that makes them a bit of both.
The kid giggles and leans closer to watch the way Claire's bandaged hand moves in short, deliberate strokes along the raised lines of the canvas.
Your hand is shaking, but the picture is not. That is kind of magic.
The lines are already there, like a secret path I built earlier. So now I just have to follow them, even if my hand forgets how to behave.
Later, when the park empties and the light turns golden, Claire studies the almost finished canvas by touch alone, tracing the curve of a laughing mouth and the arch of a tired back.
People look softer when you feel them instead of staring, and every wrinkle turns into a small valley you can travel across.
She names this piece Park Bench Weather because it holds sun and wind and the faint chill of metal under her fingers all at once. As weeks pass, her series grows portraits of Small Endurance, the barista, who works double shifts, the nurse sleeping on the subway, the teenage girl braiding her sister's hair on the bus.
I cataloged everything today, and the Life series is officially at 20 pieces, and the gallery owner keeps sending me excited messages with too many exclamation marks.
Tell her I am still not promising anything, because my body did not sign the contract, and it is a terrible negotiator.
She offered the main room for your show and said we can build a low rail so people can walk slowly and touch the edges with clean hands.
They can touch them!
Her whole face lights up at that thought, and for a moment she looks like the girl she was before the diagnosis. The one who believed art should be lived and not just looked at.
Of course they can. You built these paintings for touch, and it would be a crime to keep them behind glass.
The next week brings a cruel shift, and Claire wakes one morning to find her right fingers curled inward and unwilling to straighten without sharp stabbing pain.
Come on, just a little more time. Just one more canvas. I am begging you.
She tries warm water and stretching exercises from physical therapy, and even massages her own hand until her wrist aches. But the stiffness clings like frost on glass. During an outdoor session, clouds thicken overhead, and rain begins without warning, turning sidewalks slick and pulling cold into her joints. She refuses to pack up and keeps working on a canvas that shows a street musician under a bridge, her brush jerking on each stroke as thunder grumbles in the distance. A sudden gust of wind knocks the easel sideways, and Claire lunges to catch it, her weak legs slipping on the wet pavement. She falls hard, her shoulder hitting concrete, and the canvas splashes face down into a growing puddle as rainwater streaks the fresh paint into blurred trails.
Please, not this one, too. Please. I worked so long on you.
Her voice is swallowed by storm noise, and for a moment she lies there soaked and shaking, too tired to push herself up.
Hey, are you okay? I saw you fall. Let me help you up.
Strong arms lift her to sitting, and someone presses a folded jacket under her head, while another person rescues the fallen canvas from the puddle.
This painting is wild, even with the rain running through it. It looks like the music is moving.
It is ruined, and I am running out of time. And I do not know how many more ruined things I can carry.
Maybe it is just different, now not ruined, just changed by the storm, kind of like you being here anyway, when you could have stayed home dry.
Later in the studio, Claire studies the water-streaked canvas and realizes the blurred colors look like sound waves rippling through air. And she renames the piece Rain Song.
You scared me today when you did not answer your phone and then sent me a picture of you lying in the street with a ruined painting.
I am sorry, I just panicked. And I thought everything was ending all at once. But then strangers held umbrellas over me, like I mattered.
You do matter, and not because of the show or the paintings. And if you ever think about giving up, you call me first.
He takes her stiff right hand between both of his and warms it gently, his thumbs moving in slow circles around knuckles that already feel unfamiliar to her.
We are close, Claire. The gallery wants a date for your show, and the Life series is almost complete. Just hold on with me a little longer.
Summer heat settles over the city like a heavy blanket. By the time the gallery confirms the date for Claire's show, and her body feels heavier than the air around her, she can no longer button her own shirts or lift full paint jars, and most days a home nurse helps her in and out of bed, while Ethan handles everything related to the exhibit.
We have a title now. The gallery loved your note about small lights, and we borrowed it and shaped it a bit.
They are calling my meltdown project something poetic now. That is a twist.
The show will be called Fireflies at Your Fingertips, and your grandmother's unfinished piece will hang at the entrance beside the description of your process.
Claire listens with her eyes closed while a fan whirs in the corner, and her nurse gently stretches her arms to keep the muscles from locking completely.
It sounds beautiful. And a little unreal, like you are pitching a movie instead of my life.
Your life has always deserved a theater, and this is just one room of it, and I want you there in the center, not hidden in some back office watching online clips.
In the days before the opening, Claire insists on finishing one last canvas, a piece that has lived in her mind for months. The image of a damaged firefly still glowing in the dark. Her hands are almost useless now, so Ethan and the nurse help strap a brush to her palm and gently rotate the canvas as she works to spare her shoulders.
If this is going to be the last one, it has to feel like breathing and breaking at the same time.
She has already laid down thick arcs of raised paint to map the insect's cracked wings in the surrounding night. So now she concentrates on filling each shape with slow, deliberate strokes of color. Gold pools in the center where the tiny body glows while deep blue and violet swirl around it, like a tide that cannot quite drown the light.
There. That is how it feels to be stuck in this body, still flickering, even when everything says, time is almost up.
When she loses grip entirely, Ethan steadies her arm and helps guide the last small strokes, and they work together in silence broken only by the soft scratch of bristles on canvas.
We should sign it together. You did the impossible part, and I just played backup, but I want my initials hiding there next to yours.
Fine, but your letters have to be tiny because this is still my firefly and my fight.
They press a small set of initials into wet paint near the bottom edge, and Claire breathes out, as if she has set down something heavy she has carried for miles. On the day of the opening, the gallery hums with low conversation and the faint echo of music, while visitors move slowly between the tactile canvases, hands hovering just above the textured surfaces. Claire arrives in a wheelchair bundled in a light dress that hangs loose on her smaller frame, and the nurse adjusts a soft neck pillow so she can look around without straining.
Welcome to your own universe, Claire. Every wall in here remembers your touch.
He pushes her slowly through the main room, and she listens to strangers read the card on the wall that explains her illness and her method, and the way each painting invites touch instead of forbidding it.
I can feel the wrinkles on this old man's face. The paint is so thick. It is like a map of his years. This one with the girl on the bus. Her shoulders are hunched, but the line of her spine feels like she is still refusing to bend completely.
A small boy traces the raised outline of a street musician, his fingers moving carefully along the swirling rain streaks of the piece Claire once thought was ruined forever.
It feels like the song is jumping and falling at the same time, kind of like when you run downstairs too fast.
Claire smiles and tears gather in the corners of her eyes, as she realizes people are not just seeing her pain, they are touching it and finding their own stories there.
Your work is changing how people think about paintings. This room has never been this quiet and this full at the same time.
Quiet is good. It means they are listening with their hands.
Near the end of the evening, Ethan wheels Claire to the final wall where her last canvas hangs beside her grandmother's unfinished firefly painting. The older piece glows with muted greens and soft golds, while Claire's work burns with brighter color, a single damaged insect blazing against dark blue night.
Will you put them together forever? Ethan, not just for tonight. I want people to see that I started where she stopped.
I already talked to the gallery. They want this corner to be a permanent small shrine to both of you to the way you pass the light forward.
Claire looks at the two canvases, and for a moment the noise behind her fades, and all she hears is the memory of her grandmother's voice, teaching her to draw kitchen tiles as a child.
Tell me what the sign says. I want to hear how they translated all this mess into gallery language.
It says that you and your grandmother painted with what you had when sight faded or muscles failed, and that these works are proof that limitation can be a new kind of vision.
That is not bad for a room full of people who probably never had to tape a brush to their hand to keep going.
Her breathing grows shallow as the night wears on and her nurse suggests heading home, but Claire insists on staying until the gallery lights dim to low evening.
Just a little longer. I want to remember what it feels like to be surrounded by my own light.
The week after the show closes, the city seems quieter to Ethan. Even though traffic still grinds and sirens still flash along the avenues, outside the hospital windows, Claire has been admitted for breathing support after a rough night, and now she rests in a room that smells of antiseptic and wilted flowers with her grandmother's sketchbook. On the bedside table,
the gallery sent more messages today. They said people are still asking about you and about the paintings that feel like topographic maps of their own lives.
That is a nice way to say strangers are running their hands over my pain and calling it profound.
They are running their hands over your courage and learning they are not alone. That is what I see when I am there.
Her voice is softer now, each word pulled through a tired chest, and her fingers stay curled against the blanket, unable to move more than a twitch.
Do you ever think about how my hands drew their last line weeks ago? But I am still here, trying to sign off on this whole story.
I think your story is going to echo for a very long time, and that you are allowed to be tired now without apologizing for it.
A nurse comes in, checks machines, and smiles at Claire with the practiced gentleness of someone who spends their days near the edge between staying and leaving.
The art therapist from downstairs came by earlier. She saw your hands and said she recognized the name from the gallery posters. She asked if you would donate copies of your notes one day.
She can have the originals if Ethan agrees to be boss of my mess. I am done hoarding secrets about how to keep moving when everything hurts.
Boss of your mess is already on my resume, so yes, I will make sure they end up with people who need them.
That night, after the nurse dims the lights, Ethan opens Claire's sketchbook and her own journal, which lies beneath it, pages crowded with shaky handwriting and small paint smudges. He reads her words quietly, while she listens, eyes closed, a faint smile touching the corner of her mouth, when he stumbles over an ink smear or a crooked sentence.
You wrote that the disease froze your body but could not freeze your hunger to leave fingerprints on the world that is very you.
I stole that from Nana. She said fireflies are small, but they carry their own lanterns, and I wanted to believe I had one too.
Ethan turns to the last page and finds a paragraph written in slightly darker ink, the letters jagged as if each one took more effort than the last.
Do you want me to read this part out loud or keep it to myself for a bit?
Read it. Please, my own words sound less scary when someone I love says them first.
You wrote that. Even if your body stops moving, the work will still travel through other hands, and that you are not afraid of the dark anymore, because you have seen how little light it takes to ruin it.
That last line is kind of good. I hope some teenager finds it one day when they feel like they are stuck in cement.
Outside the hospital window, streetlights throw soft halos onto the sidewalk, and a few early fireflies drift through the bushes in the parking lot, tiny sparks against the summer dark.
Promise me something, Ethan, when I am gone. Do not let them talk about my story like a tragedy that is only sad. I need it to be a map instead.
I promise I will tell them you were not a broken miracle. You were a person who kept making choices when the menu got very small.
You always did have a way with words. Maybe that is your art series.
Her breathing grows shallower as midnight leans in and the machine at her bedside hums a steady rhythm like distant waves on a shore. She is slowly walking toward.
Will you take the brush from the studio, the one we tied to my hand, and put it between Nana's painting and mine? I want them to share it.
I will place it there myself, and if anyone tries to move it, I will glue it down and stand guard.
A tired laugh escapes her, and then fades, and she turns her head slightly toward the sketchbook, as if listening for her grandmother's voice on the rustle of its pages.
I think I am ready now, Ethan. Not ready like excited. Just ready like a painting that is dry enough to hang without smearing.
He squeezes her hand, and though her fingers do not close around his, he feels a faint answering pressure, like the last flicker of a flame before it settles into ember. Claire falls asleep with that almost smile still on her face, and sometime before dawn her chest rises one last time, then stills in a quiet that feels strangely gentle. Ethan sits with her until the sun, pale and soft, begins to seep through the blinds. Then he closes the sketchbook and presses it to his chest like a fragile piece of glass. Weeks later, the gallery unveils a small permanent corner near the back wall, where Nana's unfinished firefly painting hangs beside Claire's last piece, and the shared brush rests between them in a clear case. A plaque nearby explains that both artists painted from a place of loss, and that their work invites visitors to feel rather than simply see the shapes of persistence.
I came here on a bad day and left feeling like maybe my broken parts can still draw lines too. Her journal quote about fireflies ruining the dark with just a little light keeps replaying in my head. It is annoying and helpful at the same time.
Ethan sometimes stands in the doorway and watches people trace the textured wings by touch, and he feels an answering warmth in his own chest, like a soft, persistent glow. He knows Claire would roll her eyes if someone called her work inspirational. Yet he also knows she would secretly be glad that somewhere a stranger chose not to give up because of a tiny painted firefly.
Thanks for watching. Follow for more romance stories.